bringing it back to songwriting,
Mm-hmm.
how long does it usually take you to write a song?
It depends. Sometimes you can maybe like, I'm trying to actually think. Some can be like 10 minutes, and like they're the ones they tend to be the ones that come out of or like a block.
Mm-hmm.
So I've spent like songs, that take up to like a week, and it's like dissecting it and like perfecting it, and then at the end of it you have it, and then I can like be messing around with like a melody or a lyric for like literally a month, and I'm like out of like frustration towards that, a song will come out of nowhere, like complete different tangent, no like similar topic, will come out, and so it's different. I'm the kind of person though, I can't sit down and be like, if someone's like, right, go on, sit down and write a song, it doesn't work for me. They tend to like fall out. If it's something that's been on my mind for a while, it'll just fall out, and that they're the ones that take 5 minutes because it's just like a rant, or just like like a flurry of like emotion. So yeah, it literally can, people say some of the best songs are written in 5 minutes, and like that is true, or like but then also the ones that you want to like perfect, and like you have the bones of a song, but it will take you like maybe a week just to kind of like tweak it and stuff like that, and that's definitely the case for, I think, for me, I've done 5 minutes and I've done like a week. So it changes, and I actually like spending time on like one song. It is quite like like fun, and you get the thrill of writing a song in 5 minutes, and you're like, oh, it's done, I don't have to worry about it. But then there's ones when you're like, okay, no, I have it, you're like, I'm just on the verge, I just need to like kind of take a step back from the song, you think about it, reflect, and then like jot down just ideas, and then mold them all together.
So do the ones that take longer, do they feel like more like worthwhile? Cause
yeah,
like, I just finished this.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel more accomplished, I guess. Like it's fun to write the ones in 5 minutes, because you're like, oh, that was easy, and like you can enjoy playing it. It was obviously easy to do, but the ones that you spend so long on and put like so much effort into, you're kind of like, oh my god, you're like like it's done, it's
accomplished,
done. Yeah, accomplished. Yeah, and you're like, and you feel like proud, and you're like, I did it. Like I could have just left it, but like there is ones that there definitely is the case where you can spend like days and days on one song, and you're like, it's just not going anywhere. But what usually happens to me is that the ones that like, sometimes I kind of like put them on the side, or like they kind of get scrunched up and thrown in the bin. Some of their ideas or like melodies will come back actually in like other songs, so I'm like, oh, I can use like I kind of swap and change. So yeah, that's just I guess it is different for everyone.
Yeah, definitely. So are most of your songs personal? Are they about like all of your past experiences?
Yeah, I like to write like, I find it hard to write not from like a autobiographical kind of mind. Yeah, and like some people can do that, and they can be like think of stories in their head, and they can base a song on a story, which is actually something I should delve into, because it would just like develop my songwriting skills. But yeah, no, all my songs are things that like I've done or like thought of, or like things that like annoy me, or like relationships and stuff like that as well. It's just the way I like to sing. I think there's nothing more like authentic and like believing than like when you're singing things that like you've just like gone through or you've talked about, and that's the kind of people who I like to listen to as well. So I'm like, and like I'm quite like the artists that I like I follow them for like a long time. So when they're writing about stuff, and someone, people can bring out a song and they're like, oh, it sounds good, their old stuff, and in my head I'm like, okay, like that's your opinion. But because I've like followed them, and like I know where like they've been, and like I'm like, I know why they're writing like that. Like it doesn't have to be a #1 hit, but I know exactly why they're writing about that. So it's because it's personal to them. So that's just kind of, I like to kind of stay true to my own beliefs and like what I like to write about.
And I think like those kind of songs, like people go through a lot of the same kind of experiences, so they're really easy to connect with for everybody.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I found is that and like I'm looking to go back into like the studio and record more things, and it's kind of based around that. But like the amount of people in one room who are complete strangers, but yet one person on stage can talk about a topic, and everyone in their head has been like oh, I felt that, or like that's happened to me. And I like as both a performer and like a gig attendee,
absolutely,
I'm like, you can see it, like you can see absolute strangers being like, I totally get it, and like that's just really kind of thrilling for me as a performer, to see people like who don't know each other and kind of being like, okay, yeah, like I totally, and that kind of like coming together and like unity in like a crowd of strangers is like something that's really important to me as like a performer to bring people, because you'd be surprised about like how different people can be, but you have the exact same experiences.
Totally.
And they may not be best of friends, but I think if they have an understanding of each other, then it's, you know, it's super important.
Yeah, I think Dreamer is one of those songs because, like, everybody has dreams that they want to do something.
Yeah.
And people are like, no, you shouldn't do that. So
yeah,
I
think it, like, you know, people could say like, oh yeah, like it's, you know, corny or cheesy to, like, you know, talk about dreams, but, like, you know, at the end of the day, everyone at one point in their life has still followed them. You can call it a dream, or you can call it, like, you know, aspiration. Like, it doesn't have, you don't have to put one word on it, but, like, to be driven is not cheesy, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, like, it's not corny to, like, you know, want to be the best version of yourself, or, like, stick to, like, you know your guns and do what you want to do. So people can be like, oh, it's kind of like, you know, it's a bit like airy fairy, you know, and you can be like, talk about dreams all day and get nothing done. But there is a sort of, like, you know, rebellion that needs to be had. Not rebellion is a bit of a strong word, but, like, rebellion that needs to be had for people who tell you that, like, you know, you should do this, and you should be like, no, I want to do what I want to do. So.
Like, all you can do is, like, hear no, or you can, like, fail, but, like, if you don't try, like, nothing can come out of it. So I think that's, like, the struggle between, like, two different people.
Yeah.
They have two different aspects. So.
Yeah, so people can just be happy and just, like, you know, floating on by, and they can, you know, have dealt with failure, and they just don't like it, you know. And, like, you know, I think I would much rather fail a million times and then have that one, like, you know, kind of glimmer of, like,
absolutely,
of success, or, like, you know, things that I'm like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. And, you know, there is some gigs that, like, you know, you do where you're writing your songs and you're like, you know, is this worth it? Like, you know, I just keep getting knocked, you know, or I make stupid mistakes, or, like, you know, your voice is, like, bad one day and you're just like, this is it, like, this is the end. But then, like, you know, there is that part of you that still gets up and does it the next day. So you're kind of like, you know, this is what I'm meant to do.
Good, that's great. So, do you have any huge influences that have influenced your songwriting or just, like, music in general?
Yeah, I think it's quite varied. So when I grew up, I was, like, brought up on, like, country music and, like, you know, the Carpenters and like, folk, so, like, Fleetwood Mac, and then, like, massive hits like, you know, the Whitney Houstons, and, like, you know, like, there's such a range, you know. And then obviously you get into my teen years and I was, like, super emo and super, like, pop punk, and that's when I really started to, like, listen to me, like, you know, properly listen to music and not just have it in the background. Like, I also used to, like, you know, sing on, like, our car journeys, you know, but then, you know, listening to music and kind of understanding it and, like, you know, taking bits from, like, people's, you know, songs and, like, you know, applying them to mine. But yeah, like, it's quite varied, like, as in I guess my, like, taste could go from, like, Paramore on one side to, like, you know, I'm trying to think of, like, you know, the Carpenters, or like Dolly Parton, you know, Joni Mitchell. Like, it goes, like, literally to there. And there is music that I don't, it's not that I don't like it, it's just I don't, like, you know, recognise. I don't, like, see anything in it for me. But what really annoys me is when someone says that a certain music is bad. Like that just really kind of just gets me, because I'm like, you just don't like it, like, you know, tastes are different. So yeah, that'll be influences from everywhere.
Yeah, definitely, that's awesome. So you've been pretty busy this past few months. You were at Electric Picnic, and now you've been around the UK and a little bit in Ireland again. What has been your favorite performance thus far?
That's actually a tough one, because so Electric Picnic was, you know, huge, and, like, my bit, like, you know, in terms of venue and in terms of, you know, scale, I guess, in every kind of sense, it was the biggest one I've done so far, the one I was the most nervous for. So, like, you know, part of me wants to be like, you know, that was my favorite gig, but, like, there was so much. If those gigs, you know, keep coming up, you know, I think I need to learn to control, like, because, you know, nerves is one thing, but it's the lead up that's the hard bit. So, you know, there's so much to think about, so much going through in your heads, that, you know, everyone's saying, you know, oh, like, you enjoying yourself, blah blah, and it's that point that I kind of zone out, because the scale was so big, and I was like, you know, I want to enjoy it, and just kept, like, you know, repeating that in my head. And then I got up, and, like, it was almost as if I closed my eyes for 30 minutes, and I came off stage, and everyone was like, you know, like, did you enjoy it? And I'm like, I can't remember it, because it's just, like, such adrenaline. And you know, there was people, you know, I do remember looking at one point and seeing, you know, like, you know, familiar faces, and then there was people who I didn't know, and I was kind of like, you know, this is amazing. And I was like, how often do you get the chance to perform on such a, you know, a huge stage, and, you know, at a festival like this, you know? I was like,
absolutely.
this, like, 16-year-old Tim would have loved this. So I was like, you know, snap out of it. So, and, you know, a lot of the focus was on me, but then on the flip side, just the gig that I had there in London, which was in, like, the Old Blue Last, which was, like, a really nice, you know, venue, that was, like, sold out in, like, a small intimate room. and like, you know, the crowd was super like receptive, and you know, I could see everyone, and people were like, you know, so close together that I was able to, and you know, I wasn't the main act, I was just like, you know, supporting. So, you know, it's kind of a bit like mean, but like, you know, the focus was off me, so, you know, I can like relax a bit more, and I can, you know, enjoy it, and you know, like figure out like, you know, stage things, and like, you know, and you know, get to like, you know, fully control your set and be in charge, and like not let the whole adrenaline take over, that you like zone out. So I'd say in terms of like, for myself, I think the London one was a super kind of turning point, and I really enjoyed that. But then on the other side, the Electric Picnic one was, in terms of like, you know, career and like, you know, progression.
They're so different too. Like,
they are, and like, you know, one was fun, and one was like, you know, this is a big milestone, and like, but obviously with huge milestones, there comes like, you know, pressure, and there comes like, you know, the need to want to be the best, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas London was just like, just enjoy yourself, you know?
But London was also the first time you had any performance in London, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I played so that, and that's like another thing as well, like, you know, it's the first, you know, there's a list of firsts that I want to like, you know, tick off my list, and like, so London was, and it was sold out, so like that obviously helps, and the crowd were so nice, and you know, for, you know, an Irish person to come over, like they were super receptive, and you know, they wanted to like, you know, talk about like kind of like what we're doing here, we're having a chat, you know, I was having a chat with them, and they wanted to kind of get to know me afterwards, and like, you know, and it was really nice, because you know, it's like London is such a huge place, and it's easy to kind of feel like, you know, a little bit like lonely there, and I've known people who who've lived there, and there was some Irish people who were at the gig as well, like just complete, like, you know, I think actually one of them went to DCU, and she was like, oh, I just moved here maybe a few months ago. And she was like, you know, it's great to kind of like, you know, hear a familiar Irish voice on stage. And I was like, oh, that's like, you know, really nice to hear as well. So, yeah, and then like Brighton was the day before. So like with music, it's like insane, because it allows me to travel. And like, you know, that's another kind of thing I want to do, another list just to tick off of places I've been. So yeah, the UK was great.
Awesome. Yeah. That's great. So you mentioned you got nervous before Electric Picnic. Do you get nervous a lot before any performance? Or maybe it could be more like anxious. Yeah, I think it's more. I think it's just nerves in general, you know. And what's weird is, and I don't know if this is a good sign, maybe it is, they don't affect me on stage. You know, it's not like I get up to the microphone and like, you know, I go to sing and nothing comes out. It's just the lead up, you know. It's the kind of waiting to go on. You know, if you're sound checking, everything's fine, and then you're hoping that like, you know, your voice is okay. So yeah, Electric Picnic was a lot, because it was, you know, there was rehearsal sessions, they were fine, whatever, and then just a whole day of like, you know, travelling, and like, you know, I was kind of out of my depth in terms of, you know, I'd never played on such a massive stage, and there was so much going on, and there was people like, you know, ferrying your equipment, and you know, there was just like a lot of logistics to getting up on stage, and that was kind of like, you know, leading up, and obviously my friends and family were super excited for me, so they were like, you know, onto me all the time. So at one point I kind of just like need to turn my phone down and just like, you know, get in the zone. It was the first time with the full band too, wasn't it? Yes. Like live.
Yeah, so that was, so obviously I didn't want to, I think, you know, some people can get up on stage with just a guitar, and they can, you know, fill the entire stadium, and like, you know, there's people out there who can just do that, and I was just like, I know for myself, and it's not like, you know, diminishing what I can do, but it's just, I know I can't do that, my songs aren't like that. I was like, you know, they just need that extra bit of push. So I got, you know, these 4 amazing talented friends, and they came in and they helped me out. But like, you know, even for them, like there is like, you know, nerves, and like everyone like everyone just wants to, you know, be the best they can be, and it's different, because that was obviously a huge venue, and then, you know, there's like small places like the Ruby Sessions where like, you know, you've been, I remember you telling me, so like it's so close, you know, and you're kind of like, oh, that's a bit nervous, because it's almost so intimate that like people can like literally, you know, they're looking right up at you.
When I was like, oh my gosh, like it's like the stage, and then it's like the seat, like
it's like there's no, and what else like is there's no like I don't know,
no stage really. It's like not even like a footstep, like
level playing ground, and like you're the same, you know, everyone's just like
hey,
you could literally go just touch them. So yeah, like but nerves is good. I think nerves is like, you know, it means it's important to you. And
absolutely.
So I think it comes in everything. It doesn't have to just be music as well.
Definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. So do you have any go-to songs that just like always put you in a good mood?
Yeah, I think I do. I'm that kind of person who, you know, people laugh about it, or you see it in like, you know, teen movies, but I am that person who like dances around in my room, and like just, you know, has a absolute rock show, I guess, in my room, and just like jumping around. We were talking about it earlier, but like that song Ain't It Fun by Paramore is like
definitely.
just an absolute tune.
Such a great song.
I actually do I like quite a lot of pop. Like I was listening to this Shura, I think she's from the UK.
Okay.
She's great to have a dance to. I can't even think of it. It's just general pop as well.
Yeah, just like any upbeat song.
Yeah, and like, but even like, you know, some things that like, you know, you're saying like, you know, can be uplifting and stuff like that can actually be just a mutual understanding. Like we were saying, you know, how people can relate to things. If I'm listening to a song that I can relate to, and it doesn't have to be like, you know, upbeat, but like you know, the lyrics of it are like quite like, you know, more reassuring. To me, that's kind of uplifting as well. Yeah. So I guess that I wouldn't say go to. I'd say just the genre of like pop will get me up and dancing. But then even like, you know, Adele is like class is like, you know, this like everything's blue and everything's sad and it's all about heartbreak. But
you can connect to
I can connect to it, and that's actually quite uplifting. It doesn't mean it has to have like, you know, a dance beat, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, anything can really get me
going. Yeah. So here's like just a fun question now.
Okay.
So if you could have any superpower, what would it be and why?
Oh, that is a good one. I think I'd like to talk to animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just have a chat and see what they're doing, because the amount of times, you know, do you have any animals?
Yeah, I have a cat, and then my dog, he just like passed away.
Oh my god, no! But my cat, this is like a really good taking a turn, but my cat also passed away. But yeah, like I would just love like chatting to them and being like, because how often do we like, you know, just sit and like talk absolute nonsense to like, you know, animals. So I think I'd like to like kind of like Dr. Dolittle and just like have a chat with them.
Awesome.
And then also like, you know, it's kind of like if you were a vet. I don't know why I'm going back to this. Maybe it's, I'm having like an identity crisis. I'm like, I should be a vet. But like, you know, it's with like, you know, medicine and like with like, you know, people, you can just ask the patient or whatever, like, you know, where is it and stuff like that. But like animals just have such a hard time communicating anything. You know, they have like a background, whatever. So I think I'd like to be like, what is wrong? Like, tell me.
Or like just like stare at you and you're like.
Yeah, and most of the time it's just like, please give me food, or like bring them on a walk. But like, you know, animals have quite a simplistic life. But yeah, I think that'd be it. I don't know if that's a boring one.
No,
some people would be like invisibility or something like that. But
no, like I think like super like strong is like more boring or something.
Yeah.
Beneficial.
I want to have all the strength in the world.
Yeah,
no, I'd much rather just talk to my cat.
Oh, yeah, that'd be awesome. Another friend all the time.
Yeah. What one would you pick?
I kind of thought about this. That one's really good. I never thought of that one. But I think teleportation would be really cool.
That'd also be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, go anywhere you want.
Absolutely, anytime.
And you don't have to like do Ryanair or like go trips and stuff like that.
That's the worst.
Just like boop.
Yeah.
The place you want to go.
You could like always go wherever. Like, sleep in your bed.
You'd also never be late as well.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Yeah.
Bus systems.
I'm quite late, but I'm like a general. On a general note, I'm like, I can totally do 5 more minutes in bed, and then I'm like, oh god, it's been an hour.
No, I have to rush. Like, okay, just throw the shirt on.
Yeah, exactly.
So, to wrap this up, what's next for you? What's next for Tim Chadwick?
So the singles are done. You know, they've been released, and maybe there might be one more, but like that's, you know, up in the air, and it's just to kind of see if there's kind of a place for it out there, because it's quite a different song. But in the next week I go back into the studio to record new songs. So like, you know, everything people have heard, like, you know, and you've heard, they're like 2 years old, and it's the way that, like, you know, music works. You write your song, and then like, you know, it takes a while. Like, you know, no one ever releases the newest song that they've written, unless maybe it's a rare scenario. So I have like 2 years worth of songs like in this book, in 2 books actually.
Oh wow.
So next week I'm going into studio just to like demo them. It's not like a full recording, it's just to kind of, you know, test them out and see where they can go. It is a new sound. It's not like, you know, this, I think I'd like to think that what I have so far is like a mix between like folk and pop, or like, you know, there's like a small kind of, you know, a mush in there. What I'm kind of would like to go into, just because I feel like I've, as a person and like as an artist, I think I've like just like grown and, you know, developed and changed, and you know, the way I've written songs is just like, you know, moved on. So it's taken on a bit more of a pop kind of feel. So yeah, we're gonna go in and like, you know, test them out and see where they can go. But like, you know, I'd still like I'm trying to get a mix of, you know, like singer-songwriters is like a genre in itself, and it's such like storytelling. So I'm really trying to get into like moving storytelling into pop and making it like trying to get that connection. So yeah, that's the plan. And then hopefully shows just keep on coming, and like, you know, I'd love to go back to the UK and, you know, even push the vote out further and maybe go to Europe and just see where it goes. But like, things are going really well.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah. So where can people like connect with you? Like Facebook?
Yeah, I'm on them all. So like Facebook is just so like Facebook / Tim Chadwick Music, and then Twitter is a weird one. Twitter is at Tim Y'all. Just because when I was like 17, I liked saying like y'all, like how y'all doing. So it's just like Tim Y'all, and then same as Instagram and same as Snapchat. I think that's all the ones I have. And then my email is you don't need emails on my Facebook page.
Perfect.
And I put up pictures of just random things and like gig announcements. Yeah, and I talk about food on Twitter, and I talk about cats, and I talk about music, and
perfect.
Yeah, the perfect amount of of just absolute nonsense. Yeah, so that's it.
Well, great. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
So before we leave, Tim's gonna do perform his new single, Dreamer.
Tear the pages I've written in the story I've been given, and it don't make sense to me. Well, I'm a dreamer. It don't mean I'm wrong, 'cause calling me dreamer. It don't mean I'm wrong if I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wake up. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wake up. I don't wanna wake up. I see divides in the road. I see divides in our hearts. Then discontent is a given, and stone is written, and there won't be the path I'm on. We're not the same, but we come from the same place. We've been native in tongue, but too far in a mind. All along. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wake up. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wait. I don't wanna wake up. I don't wanna wait. It ain't living if I'm living for someone else.